Yo, what's up? So, as a lot of you guys already know, I just recently came back from a 2-week trip to Japan. Japan has been my #1 place in the world that I wanted to visit, #1 place that I wanted to DJ first internationally, and I finally did it. After I came back, and while I was there as well, the #1 question I got was, "You're so lucky, where'd you get the money? I wish I could do that," all those type of things. And I'm making this guide because it's not that difficult. It's not that expensive. Believe it or not, I'm gonna break it down. But I spent $1,800 on the flight, on Airbnb stay, food, everything, round trip, everything. $1,800 I spent. That's like no money, I feel, to go to somewhere on the other side of the planet and spend 2 weeks. So this guide is to break that down. Before I get started, I have a little disclaimer. You may have mixed results listening to my advice depending on where you live and the time of year that you go. This guide will be helpful for most people, but if you make it rain in the club, this guide is not for you. If you're bad and bougie, this guide is not for you. If your motto is mo money, mo problems, this guide is not for you. If every time you come around the city, bling bling, this guide is not for you. If your sugar daddy pays for everything, this guide is not for you. If you're all about the Benjamins, this guide is not for you. But if you're like me and you've always wanted to travel the world but thought you could never afford it, this guide is just for you. So the first thing I want to talk about is the flight. That's usually the biggest expense, and the biggest reason why people don't want to go to foreign countries is because the flight can be very, very expensive. I paid $550 round trip. Now, how do I do it? The first thing is you have to be very, very patient. If you're trying to go in the next 2 weeks, it's probably going to be very expensive. What I do, I use a mix of a couple different apps and websites, one being Hopper. The Hopper, it's called, is a iOS app. I check all the airlines. I use Singapore Air, but United Air, all the airlines. I'm just continuously looking at those sites to see when the rates are going to be the cheapest. And usually they're the cheapest when people don't travel a lot, and that's usually when it's cold in that other place. So I went to Japan in mid-February, February 14th, so that's in their winter time. It's before the really popular time of cherry blossom season, so it was a really good time to get good rates. Now you might say to yourself, Ray, I'm so broke, I don't have $550 in my pocket right now to pay for a flight. And you know what? 6 months ago, I didn't either. So what I did was I found this site. It's called Airfordable. I'll put the link somewhere in the description. But what Airfordable does, it breaks up the cost of the flight into monthly payments until you take off. Now, that was great. They do charge like a little processing fee, so I think it came out to like $600 even. But basically, I paid little increments up to that date. So I could afford to pay $80, $90 a month rather than a full $550, and that made it so much easier to not have to put down $550. I mean, I don't want to use credit cards or anything like that. So Airfordable, I've used them. I had nothing but good luck with them. One thing to think about when you're using Airfordable, they do not release your tickets until you pay off your tickets, obviously. So you can't really pick a seat or work out any accommodations with the airline until you fully pay off your ticket with Airfordable. One thing to think about. Now, the next biggest expense when people think about flying to another country or to another place is your living situation. Where are you going to stay? What's your hotel going to be like? And for me, I've been using Airbnb for years now. When we moved to LA, we used it. I used it back home, and I used it in Japan. Now, you can get rates as low as $10 a night. Now, I didn't use that. At $10 a night, you're looking at a bunk bed situation and have a type of like a hostel type thing, which I'm not about. I kind of like my personal space. I wanted my own room. I paid an average of $40 to $50 a night with Airbnb. I got to meet other people. A lot of these places are big houses with multiple private rooms, so you can meet other people and things like that. That was great. I love Airbnb. customer service is great. I had a couple of issues on my trip with Airbnb, and they returned my money every single time, quick and easy. So thumbs up definitely for using Airbnb instead of a expensive hotel. So food is always a big thing. You're in a new country, you want to try new things, you know, you want to go all out. Now you're going to kind of have to hold yourself back on this one. Remember, you're not fancy, you're not bad and bougie, you're broke like me. So let's talk about this. Two things you need to think about in the back of your head when going to Japan is ramen and Yoshinoya, I believe it's called. Now, Yoshinoya, for people that live in Japan, they're probably laughing at me right now. It's their version of fast food. They have it in LA actually as well. It's not the best quality food, but if you don't have a lot of money, it's great to get small meals there, like maybe a light breakfast, things like that. Ramen is another very inexpensive meal to get as well. Fills you up, doesn't cost a lot. In Japan, it tastes amazing. It tastes nothing like it does in the United States. Can't really put my finger on exactly what it is, but it's amazing. Now, I know you're gonna wanna go out and get that Kobe beef, steak, all that type of stuff, but if you don't have a lot of money, this is just a way to do it. Now, using those things and sparingly going to more expensive restaurants, I spent $700 in food, and I went out for every single meal. $700. I broke that down. That's about $40 to $50 a day in food. That's not the best, that's not the worst, but I'm just letting you know that's what I did, and it worked out for my budget. Transportation. If you're going to Japan and you want to do it on the cheap, I would say to stick in the Tokyo area. There's so much to do there. If you're going to be there for 2 weeks, there's plenty to do there. You really don't need to go anywhere else. You can, but this is just the budget. This is the budget trip, remember guys. Now in Japan, we have most transportation options like you do in other parts of the world. Subway, bus, taxi, and of course a car if you know someone out there. The best option, I would say, is the subway. Now, it's not as cheap as it is in America. I've lived in Philadelphia, I've taken the subway in New York, I live in LA now, I've taken the subway here, and every subway I have ever used, it's always dependent, it's never been dependent on how far you go. You pay a flat rate. $125, whatever it is, you go to wherever you want to go, unless you have to make a connection and you might have to pay a little bit more. In Japan, you pay by the distance, so depending on how far you want to go depends on how much it'll be. If you go one stop, it may be like $1.50. If you go 10 stops, it may be $10. So it can get a little more expensive, but it's definitely a better option than the taxis, which are very, very expensive in Japan. I would not recommend using a taxi unless it's your last resort and maybe the subways aren't online or something like that. Transportation wise, I want to say the thing I used the most though was my 2 feet. Everything in Tokyo is so close. Nothing that I wanted to do was more than 3, 4, 5 miles away. So most of the stuff that I did, I walked to it. I was checking my iPhone, the health app, the other day. I averaged about 10 to 12 miles a day in walking. So I would definitely recommend walking. Obviously, you need to be in good shape, have some good walking shoes. Even if you're not in good shape, everyone can walk. You know, I wasn't running, I was walking. So I definitely recommend that, and that's free. My last and final tip is to pack light. Ladies, I know you love to bring like 5 dresses a day, so you're gonna have like 18 wardrobe changes in all your shoes, but pack as light as humanly possible. I brought 2 bags, 1 duffel bag, 1 book bag, both carry-ons, even with all my DJ equipment that I needed for another country and all my clothes. I did this because I knew there would be times, and this happened, where I would have to walk with everything that I brought. And in that case, you can't have 6 bags to carry because you just can't move with all that weight. I knew that was going to happen. I knew there was a chance of that happening. So I only carried and brought what I absolutely needed. That meant 1 pair of good sneakers. I bought a new pair of sneakers before I left, so to have something very supportive to walk in. Only brought 2 pairs of jeans, a week's worth of t-shirts, and maybe one button-up shirt. It's just very, very light. Not only does it give you stuff, you can carry all your stuff, but you don't have to pay luggage fees at the airport, which can add up depending on your airline. Thank you so much for listening to my little broke man's guide to Japan. Everything that I said was just my experience. I've only been to Japan once. There's people that's been a billion times and probably know more, but I just want to give you my perspective on not having a lot of money to go visit somewhere that's in your dreams. I've used these things in Tokyo, Japan. I'm sure these tips will work for other international cities as well. So guys, good luck and safe travels. Peace.